Hello, friends. Welcome to the Thinning of the Veil podcast. I am your host, Tia Smith, and we are in for another how-to episode. Today, we're going to be talking about resolving duplicates. It's one of those scary, nail-biting, huge stressors when we're doing family history work. I feel like we get so worried about doing it wrong that we just don't do it at all. So today, I'm hoping to maybe help alleviate some of that stress and to give you courage that you can do it. For those of you who usually listen to the podcast, this is another episode that you're going to want to watch. Across all platforms, I will leave a link in the description for the video version, and you can go watch it maybe instead of listening. There are probably some people out there who can just listen to it and they grasp it really well. But for me, I'm a very visual learner, so it's going to be a lot of visual learning today. And the video will be a little bit longer than my other how-to videos, just because I feel like this is not something that we want to rush. It's something that we want to be able to kind of take our time with, thus giving us more confidence. I'm also going to leave the links of like the family search articles that I've referenced so that you can go back and go over those yourself. I think the more education you can get on it, the better. And there are a lot of videos out there that show how to resolve duplicates. I do it my way. So if this doesn't make sense to you, then go check out those other ones. But I'm going to try to be a little bit more detail oriented today and try to help you gain, hopefully, more courage in actually pushing the button. Because really, the only way that you will get good at this is if you start to do it. So, with that said, we're gonna jump right into it. For most people, resolving duplicates probably is the worst thing to try to understand. It's super scary, probably because when you feel like you're deleting a person, you're deleting it forever and you don't want to mess up a line. So I've wanted to start with this quick little video about Wendy Nelson. Context, this is Roots Tech 2017, I think it is. And her and President Nelson are giving the Roots Tech talk, I guess. And this video included the story of his great great grandfather and grandfather, where one comes to the other in a dream. So when I introduce this clip, know that it's coming in at that time. And President Nelson's grandfather is talking, great grandfather is talking to his grandfather, and they're having this conversation back and forth. So I'm kind of cutting in the middle of it, but I want you to hear the context and then you can know and then hear what she says about it, because I think this has everything to do with resolving duplicates and how we should approach it.
The paper you gave me, my son, is dated wrong, but it makes no particular difference. Correct records are kept here.
I can't tell you how many times that statement from your great-grandfather has helped me with my family history research. Sometimes two people by the very same name can live in the very same town around the very same time period. It can be almost impossible to figure out who is who. However, with your great-grandfather's statement ringing in my ears that correct records are kept on the other side, I do the very best I can, and then I move on.
I love that Sister Nelson reminds us to do the best we can, and it will all work itself out in the end. And I think that's important, especially when we're talking about merging records and deleting records and all of those things. That first of all, remembering that the Lord has nothing but imperfect people to work with, and know that they're going to make lots of mistakes. Fair disclosure, full disclosure, I have also made a ton of mistakes. I've merged people and then I've had to unmerge them, and I've deleted the wrong person and then I had to add them. But that's how I've learned. So please let your fears and anxieties go with this resolving the duplicate situation, because it will all work itself out in the end. This is the Lord's work. And I'm pretty sure he has the ability to overcome our weaknesses if we push the wrong button. So I want you to just remember that as we're going into learning this video today. Now, I want to play a video from Family Search itself. It came out on February 28th, 2025. So it literally is just hot off the press. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, I wanted to kind of show you their video on how they resolve duplicates. And then what I'm going to do is take you through some of my own resolving duplicates in real time, showing you how I resolve. It's like 4 examples, those duplicates, and just kind of give you an idea of what that looks like. But I wanted to hear straight from Family Search itself and the video that they put out, because I feel like if they put it out there, then it's good enough for it to be in this video.
Let's talk about how to handle duplicate records in Family Tree. Imagine you've got 2 different records for the same ancestor. That's a duplicate. You can merge the 2 records into a single correct record in Family Tree. Possible duplicates are found on your ancestor's person page. To access their person page, in the upper left corner of the Family Search webpage, click Family Tree, then Tree. Click on the name of the ancestor you want to look at. Then click Person. In the Research Help section, click on the Possible Duplicate message. Then click Review Merge. The possible duplicate is on the left, and the original record is on the right. Remember, merging deletes the left record and keeps the right one. If the left record contains more information, click Switch. Compare both sides. Look at names, dates, places, and family members. Pay attention to any warnings. Opening and viewing the names and other person pages and sources can provide much more information than what you see here, and help confirm whether the duplicate is a match or not. If they are the same person, go ahead and combine them. If not, just mark them as not a match. Not sure? It's okay to leave them as they are and click Back. To merge both sides, click Yes, Continue. Move the information you want to keep to the right by clicking Replace. To move it back to the left, click Undo. Once you have moved all the information you want to keep to the right side, click Continue. On the left side, add a reason for the merge. You can type the reason in the box or select one of the suggested reason statements. Then, on the right, click Finish Merge. If you want to undo the merge, click Undo Merge and enter a reason statement to undo the merge. Then click Undo Merge. And that's it. If using your mobile device on the Family Tree app, from the Person page, in the upper right corner, tap the 3 dots. Then tap Possible Duplicates. Review the info for both names and either tap Not a Match or Review Merge. After you tap Review Merge, read the warning message and tap Continue Merge. As before, the person on the left will be deleted and the person on the right will be saved. Review all information on both sides. Tap Not a Match if they are not the same person. Or tap Yes, Continue if they are. Tap the green replace arrows to move the best correct information from left to right. When finished, go to the bottom and click Continue. Enter a reason for the merge and then in the upper right corner, click Merge. Your merge is complete. If you need to unmerge, go to the person's page again and tap the three dots in the right corner. Tap Recent Changes, then tap Unmerge. Enter a reason for the unmerge and tap Unmerge. And that's it. You're now a pro at handling duplicates in Family Tree. Remember, when in doubt, it's okay to leave it for someone else to check out.
I found that video to be super helpful and super simple in trying to understand how to resolve these duplicates, what buttons exactly to push, both on your cell phone and on your computer. Today, however, just for ease of use, we're going to be just watching it on the computer versus the cell phone. So go back and watch that video as many times as you want and need. I'm going again to include the link in the description below so you can go watch it over and over again, or you can just keep rewinding this video, whatever works. So we're going to, first of all, remember there's some tips when we're going to attempt to resolve duplicates. And there's some things that we need to remember. And again, this is from the article February 28th, 2025, directly from Family Search. It says, if they are about the same person, merge them. If they are about different people, mark them as not a match. If you are unsure, do not merge them, and then take one of these actions. Cancel the merge. The duplicate is available for other users to see and review, or mark the record as not a match. Others do not see the possible duplicate. So if most of the information is matching, go ahead and merge them. If it's pretty clear that they're not, then clearly that's not a match. And if you're unsure, either you leave it for someone else to do it, or you just mark the record as not a match. So what I'm going to talk about really quickly in this first part of the video, where the duplicate buttons occur and how you can tell if there is a duplicate. From that same article, it says a duplicate profile occurs when Family Tree contains more than one profile about a person. If Family Tree finds a possible duplicate, the research help field shows a red exclamation mark on the words possible duplicate. Okay, so there's two places actually that you can tell if there's a duplicate. The first one is if you're on a person page, over in the top right-hand corner of that person page will show you generally if there's a possible duplicate associated with that person. The other way that you will know is when you're pushing the ordinances ready button or the green button, and it pulls up that you can do the work, but there's a possible duplicate that needs resolved. That is it pops up in the middle of the screen. So go study, and I'm sure you've all seen this. If not, then you need to do more work because these things pop up everywhere. This is, again, we're talking about being a hunter. This is part of that hunting, is resolving the duplicates to move on so that those people can get their work done. I mean, you don't know how many times that person has been passed over because someone isn't willing to look at the duplicate. Let's be that person who actually attempts to try, because we don't want these people sitting here just because everyone's scared to resolve them. This is also part of the importance of the work, is resolving the duplicates. The first example that I'm going to actually show you in real time is Edward Sheeler, and I'm going to show you what that looks like on my computer. All right, I've logged into my Family Search account and I've found Edward Sheeler. and I'm on his person page. Now I'm looking at his person page, and you can tell on the screen, remember we looked to the very right of the screen under research help, that down below research help, it says that there's a possible duplicate for Edward Sheeler. So when we attempt to do that, all we have to do is push Edward Sheeler's name, and it's going to ask us if we want to review the merge, and we click yes, review a merge. Sometimes it's completely obvious if it's not a match, but I generally tend to review the merge anyways, just to make sure that I'm not missing something. So you click the review merge button. Now, this is an important thing to remember that the video showed us in the beginning, is that the person on the right is going to be the surviving person. The person on the left is going to be the one that is deleted. So our guy, Edward Sheeler on the left, will not exist if we choose to continue with resolving this duplicate and saying that there's the match. Now, if the information on the left has more, then you can use the switch button right up there in the middle and switch it, because you want the one with the most information surviving, basically. So we're going to just start, Sherlocking this. This is what I call it. So we're going to look at the names, and you go down the line and you start analyzing the similarities. And if there's enough similarities, then you say, okay, yes, continue. So we're going to look at that. So the name Edward Sheeler, it's spelled exactly the same. So that's a good start. The birth is April 1844 in Missouri. That is an excellent match. Now we start going down with the one on the right having more information than the one on the left. And you will find that this is pretty common, that one is going to have a lot more information than the other. But you're just looking to see if you can hit enough marks the same. So as we keep going down, realizing that really only the information we have is that the two Edward names are the same and the birthplace and birth date are the same. Now, this is interesting because Edward Sheeler is not a common name. If you had like a John Smith, you might be a little bit more worried. But with Edward Sheeler, I mean, it's not that common. So the name in and of itself is very, very helpful. So as you go down, there's no other information on the one on the left. There's no more family information on the one on the left. And especially when we are resolving duplicates, it is super duper duper helpful to use sources. Now, what happens if the guy on the left doesn't have any sources and the guy on the right does? Well, because we've already established that the name is really similar, well, exactly the same, and the births are exactly the same, we can have confidence that this is the same person, even though there's not a source on the left one. So I'm kind of starting with the easiest, and then I'll move up to a little harder and harder. So when we get to that point, we've made the decision, yes, this is the same person. Up in the right-hand corner, you're going to click yes, continue. Now you have an option here of moving information from the one that's going to be deleted to the one on the right. I don't need to replace the name because they're the same. The sex is the same. The birth is the same. You can move that one over because it says United States on it if you want. The death and everything else will stay the same. There's nothing else to transfer over. So then you click continue at the bottom of the screen. Now, reasons for the merge. I like door number 2. I always choose most vital information and relationships match. Some details contain minor conflicts, or you can just say, in this case, number 1, all vital information and relationships match. So you can choose one of those, however it pertains to this resolving of this duplicate. So I'm going to just click add that, and then I'm going to click finish merge. Now, if there was work that needed to be done and was holding up, so it takes us back to Edward Sheeler, his page, we're going to click on the ordinances, and that just freed those up ready to be done. So literally by taking just that small amount of time, you have now freed him up to be available to do the temple and family temple work for. That's how much a little bit of time in makes a huge difference in the eternities. So that one was pretty simple. So let's go look at the next duplicate that we want to try to resolve. All right, the next one I want to show you is a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more having to analyze more information. But again, as you do this, one will build on the other, will build on the other, will build on the other. And before you know it, you're a duplicate pro. So it's important that we look at different ones so that you know what it can look like and what to expect. So we're going to go into Lewis Sheeler. Now, this Sheeler family, you can tell I'm on it. This is actually a part of Dolly and Harry's family. If you don't know who I'm talking about, that is Whisperings from Warren. If you want to go watch that really, really cool Thinning of the Veil experience, that experience has continually led to other work that needed to be done, like, and brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews. And so as I've gone through this work and noticed that there's still, it's not just about adding and reserving, there are problems that I need to try to resolve before I can do the rest of their work. But wouldn't have happened had I not had the Thinning of the Veil experience with Dolly. I wouldn't know the Sheelers existed. So let's go look at Lewis Sheeler. Instead of looking for the person page, I wanted to maybe show you what it looks like if you're trying to reserve a name and a resolved duplicate pops up. So here we are with Lewis J. Sheeler, and we're going to go and we're going to click that green button. Don't stress about the exclamation points. Most of the time they're actually pretty simple, and I will do another video on that. But for right now, we're just focusing on duplicates. So I'm going to click on the temple available button, the green button. And up pops request family names, but unfortunately, I can't do the work until I resolve the duplicates of both Lewis and his wife, Lena. They both have duplicates. What you will find sometimes is when you resolve a duplicate for one, it usually creates a duplicate for someone else. So just know that it's kind of a chain reaction and that as you resolve one duplicate, you're going to have to resolve probably more. But for today, I'm just going to focus on Lewis Sheeler. So when you get to that point and you want to do Lewis's work, you're going to click on the View Duplicates button at the top by the name Lewis Sheeler, or you can go down and view the View Duplicates button under his wife, Lena. Either one of those, you're going to be reserving either him or her, and eventually you'll have to do them both anyways. But we're going to look at Lewis's. So we click on the View Duplicates button. And it's going to bring up this screen, and it says, all right, there's some problems here. Let's resolve the duplicate. So you're going to, again, click the View Merge button. And it will bring you to the screen where, remember, the one on the left will be disappearing and the one on the right will stay. So we're going to start analyzing like we did the last time with a heads up that this is going to be a little bit more work than Edwards was. So immediately we look at the names, and the names are actually a little bit different. Schiller is spelled versus Sheeler. Schiller versus Chieler. I'm not too worried about that, especially with the name Sheeler. A lot of times, depending on who was writing the record and their spelling abilities, I mean, they would just get it wrong. There's a lot of, remember, we're all human. So just because the name is spelled wrong, it's enough similar to me that I'm not alarmed. I'm still feeling like, yeah, this is possibly the same person. Now, the Sheeler on the left does not have a birth date, does not have a death date. So I can't say, okay, this is a match yet because I'm not having enough of that information to make the call. So if we scroll down and look at the other information, there's still no information. The only thing that we can now reference on the Lewis Sheeler on the left and the Lewis Sheeler on the right is Lena Cohen. The marriage was March 30th, 1897 in Chicago, Cook, Illinois. And that is great because there's a lot of detail there. Instead of an about and a really broad United States, it's particular in Chicago, Cook, Illinois. So let's look at Lewis on the right-hand side. His spouse is also named Lena E. Cohen Sheeler. So we have a little bit of a different variation in there with the E, but they're super, super duper close. Now, you have 3 marriage slots of information. 2 say 1896, Chicago, Cook, Illinois, and 1 says the exact same as the Lewis on the left, March 30th, 1897, Chicago, Cook, Illinois. So if you notice the 2 Lenas, because sometimes it gets a little complicated, and I'm actually going to do another episode with a really complicated person and take it start to finish with having to release relationships and release attachments of sources because it's just complicated and resolving duplicates. But this one, I just wanted to show you that even though there's slight differences, that it pretty much looks like it's the same person. Now, the thing that will kind of lock that in for me is looking at the sources. Now, there's only one source on the left for Lewis Sheeler, and there are quite a few sources on the right for the other Lewis Sheeler. But what I want to do is I'm going to compare record for record in this particular duplicate process. So the one on the left says that Lewis Sheeler has a record for Illinois marriages, and we're going to look at that really quick. Okay, this says that a Lewis Schiller, spelled that way, that's why that name was spelled differently, was married to Alina Cohen on March 30th, 1897 in Chicago, Cook, Illinois. Okay, so that is the record on the left. Now let's go back and look to see if we can find a similar record to our Lewis on the right. So we're looking, and if we go down to this Lewis Sheeler, Illinois, Cook County marriages, so we're going to look at that because remember, we're looking apples to apples. So we're going to want to view that. So you have Lewis Sheeler actually spelled the same way as the other one. So that's another connection. And then you have Lena Cohen, which is similar. And then you've got the marriage date as March 30th, 1897, and the event place Chicago, Cook, Illinois. So this is the record for the Lewis on the right. Let's go back now and check the record for Lewis on the left, and you can see they're exactly the same. So we used the sources to make sure that those 2 are the same people. So what we do now is we go back to the record and we say, all right, this is the same person. You click yes, continue. Choose to replace whatever you want to replace, but I don't feel like I need to replace anything this time. Now, this is the interesting part. Lena Cohen on the left has now been moved under a spouse and children on the right. So you can see what's going to happen here. There's 2 Lenas, which means you're going to also have to resolve that duplicate. So once you resolve one duplicate, you may have to resolve another one and just keep going because remember, these people are waiting for you and for I to have the courage to and the time and be willing to sacrifice so that they can have their work done, because these things will hold them up. So you click down here at the bottom, continue. See that record that was over there has automatically moved to the right. And I'm just going to click door number 1 on this one and finish merge. And that is done. That doesn't mean that the relationship is done yet. Remember, you've got to go back and do the same thing for Lena. But the cool thing is you know that you have that the two Lewises were the same. So the Lena duplicate resolution should happen a lot faster because you've already looked at the information and you can confidently say, okay, those two were married. It is the same couple, and you move on from there. All right, my friends. Now, what happens when you do this beautiful merge and then you start to realize you've done something wrong, that the duplicates weren't actually the same person, and now you've obliterated someone from eternity, and you like all of the thoughts that we have as we realize we've made a mistake. Well, immediately, and this is taken from the article that I have previously referenced, February 28th, 2025, it gives this advice. Immediately after the merge and for a short time, an undo option is available. Click to undo the merge for the two records. Merge analysis feature. The merge analysis feature, available for merges completed on or after April 1st, 2016, allows you to review information from each profile merged into the surviving person profile. To use this feature, go to the latest changes section on a person's page and click Show All. Then click the Merge Analysis button to see the merged information. If you're like me, you'll have to use this way of undoing what you've done. How you access this button that's going to reverse what you've done, the Merge Analysis button, you go to a person's page, and sometimes you don't realize this immediately. Sometimes this takes time because you're doing more research, and then you start realizing, oh my, what did I just do? Because based on the new information that you're getting, that person was not actually the same person. So you're going to go to the person page of anyone. You're going to go to the latest changes, and that is on the right-hand side of the screen on the person page. After you do that, you're going to click the Show All button, and up will pop all of the changes that have been made to that person, whether there was a source attached, or there was a merge performed, or whatever else actions have been on that particular person. Once you click the Show All, you can go down and finally find the Merge Analysis button, and you're going to click that and follow the prompts, and it will show you how to undo what you have done. So let's take a quick look at another opportunity for resolving duplicates, this one being a little bit harder than the one before, but we're building on the skills that we've used and learned on the first two. The example we're going to use for this a little more complicated one is Inez Cordelia Miller. And this one is going to give us a little bit of a run for our money, but if we're really good at Sherlocking, it shouldn't be a problem. All right, we come to Inez and James Franklin Adams, and we're going to click again the temple ready button. We'll just temple available to see, okay, I want to take these guys to the temple. They're in my family, they need help. So you click the button, and then you get the dun-dun-dun possible duplicates. But not on every single one of them. You'll notice, remember, I'm just reminding you that if you see a blue check mark next to the green ordinances, that means you can reserve those. The ones you can't reserve right now is Thomas Adams, because there are duplicates associated with him. And then also right here down on the right-hand corner, you see that there is a possible duplicate of Inez Cordelia Miller that also prevents her work from being finished. So I wanted to focus really quickly on Inez. And so we're going to click View Duplicates for her. We come to the same screen, only it's pink now. Get it? Pink for girls and blue for boys. So we're going to review this merge of Ines. All right. So reminder that the one on the left is going away. The one on the right will stay if it's a match. It's perfectly fine if you can ascertain at this point that they are not a match, then you click not a match up here at the top. If you are panicked and you really can't do it, then that's where the back button is. So those are your three options. You can go back to where you were and not touch a thing. You can say not a match, which then makes this not appear on Inez anymore. Or you're going to click yes, continue after you've determined that they are the same people. So let's just look at Miss Inez. All right, the names are a little bit different. There's some similarities, but they're also different. So in this, the one on the left, it's Innes C. Adams. Now remember, the spelling of the name to me is close enough. The first name, Innes, I-N-I-S, or I-N-E-Z. I think that's just a human error, probably on some recorded record. C matches for the middle initial, or Cordelia. The one on the right is giving you more information. Now, this is the difference. You have Adams as the last name and Miller as the last name on the right. Now, immediately you go, well, okay, they're not the same then because the names aren't matching. But what you have to remember is that Adams, before we ever clicked on that, Adams is her married name. Miller is her one that she was given at birth. So that could be the difference. So I'm still thinking that they're possibly the same person based on that information. Now go down to the birth. Birth is 1894, the year. The place is Illinois. The one on the left is March 25th, 1893. Also Illinois. Now, if you are 1 or 2 years off, that is not a big deal at all, especially when you're doing family history research, because records, depending on when they're recorded, will say, okay, it was a different, it can be off a year. So please do not stress if those years are off by a couple. That's completely normal for records when you're doing family history work. Now let's keep going. Obviously, we can't decide whether the death is the same because the information isn't there. The burial isn't there for the one on the left. Other information, this is helpful because if you look at the residence on the left and the residence on the right, Inez, you're seeing that the townships, the place that these people are living are the same. Shelby, Illinois, on all of them. So that's a really good indicator that these could possibly be the same person. Now let's go to family. Now we have James Franklin Adams. Now remember, that's why the one on the left is Adams. So now we've Sherlocked it and we're like, okay, that's her married name instead of maiden name. We can move forward. If you notice the number for the James Franklin Adams on the left and the number for the James Franklin Adams on the right, they are exactly the same. K8TP-DVN. That doesn't happen all the time. That means if you merge Inez, you're not going to have to merge a duplicate of James because that person is the same. Each person that's in family search is assigned a unique number letter combination. And that's super helpful to know, especially when you're trying to resolve duplicates, because you can look at the numbers and it helps you to know what the next steps will be. All right, so let's look at the children. There's some marriage information in there on the one on the right. Remember, that's the one that's going to stay. The one on the left, there's no marriage information. So we can't use that as a litmus test to see if they are the same people. Let's look at the children. You have James C. Adams and Thomas D. Adams on the one on the left. On the right, Inez, you have her children as Halbert Adams and Thomas Adams. Now, if you look at the dates of the children's births, they are exactly the same. Thomas Adams, that's not a big deal, but if we remember right before we were going to resolve this duplicate, Thomas D. Adams has a duplicate attached to him as well. And you can see that Thomas D. Adams on the left, his number is different than the one on the right. So you can see that there is a duplicate opportunity for resolution there as well. The one that's giving us a little bit of concern is this James C. Adams and a Halbert Adams. So we want to kind of use again the sources to determine if this is the same Inez. It's so helpful in the sources if they have a census record because they give you the broadest view of information that you can have. So I want to click on the one on the left's United States Census 1920. All right. So in this census record, you have Inez, who is the wife, and James, which is the husband, down here on the bottom. And then you have the other two here, James H. Adams and Thomas D. Adams as children. Okay, their dates. Let's click on James H. Adams, remember, because that's the one we're trying to see if it's making sense that James and Halbert are the same people. Now, an interesting thing on this particular census is that it says James H. Adams. H obviously is the same letter as Halbert, so that could be a possibility of why if they're the same people. But if we look again, his birth year is 1914 and birthplace is Illinois. So remember, we want to go look up on the right now for information that will help us decide this particular, because this is where we've got the hang up, right? All the other information pretty much is the same. So we're trying to figure out this one last piece of the puzzle before we can actually merge them. So let's go to Inez on the right, and we can actually find a census record in 1940. So I want to click on that because there's similar types of records, and we're going to see what it pulls up. Okay, now you have Inez going by the name of Cordia Adams, which we know that her middle name is Cordelia, so we know that this is her, and that's why this record is attached. She clearly is married still. James is still the head of the house. And then we have these two sons. We have Thomas, which we're not really concerned about because we know that it's probably the same person. This Halbert, though, was the hang up. So we're going to click on Halbert right there, and we're going to review the information. This says that Halbert Adams was born in he's 26 at the time, and it's the 1940 census. So if you do the math, his birth date is 1914. So same exact time or date and same exact place as the James. So they're starting to look like maybe they're the same person. You have to always think in your mind, though, there could be twins. So you don't ever want to, without making a full decision or looking at all the information, making sure that they are the same people. So again, James was the one that we got on the Inez on the left, 1914, Illinois. Let's look at the one on the right. It is 1914, Illinois. Okay, so we're pretty sure that this Halbert and James are the same people, which would therefore mean that the records of the two can be merged together. But there's one more record I want to look at that was super helpful. And I always, if there's a find a grave, I always click on it because it contains more information than you think that it does. So down there on the right Inez, on the right-hand side, there's a find a grave exit. So we're going to click on that link. But remember what I've always said. If it comes to a find a grave record, you're actually going to want to click on the actual link to find a grave itself. So this is the record that's in Family Search that has been indexed. It says her birth date, her death date, that all corresponds with the Inez on the left. But I want to look at this Find a Grave in Find a Grave itself. So you're going to have to click View on Find a Grave and then go to Find a Grave. Now, this is why I always click through, because it contains information that will help you make the decisions a lot of the time. Not all of the time, but a lot of the time. So let's scroll down here. It's showing Inez Cordelia or Cordy, which also helps because remember, in one of the census records, she was Cordy. It brings her names all together: Inez, Cordelia, Cordy, Miller, Adams. So all of those names that were on the left and on the right are all correct. They all apply to that person, even though it looked a little bit different. But the one that kind of cemented it for me is you go down here, her parents are on the left, siblings are on the left, spouses on the right, but look at the children. The information that's given is James Halbert Adams and Thomas DeForest or Tom Adams. So between looking at all those records, we know for certainty now that the one Inez on the left is the same as the Inez on the right. So we can, with 100% confidence, click yes, continue. Looking to see if there's anything we need to move over. Everything else is moved over by itself. James C. Adams and Thomas D. Adams. Now, what do you think we've just done? Now we've created a duplicate for James C. Adams and Halbert Adams. So you're going to have to resolve that duplicate as well, because we've just created some more opportunities, I will say, to resolve duplicates. So you go down here, you click continue, and we're going to add that one, door number 2, and we're going to finish merge. All right, now, what if I just panicked because I thought that it was the right person, but I made a mistake and it wasn't? So we can go to this latest changes on her person page. We can go down here and we can click on show all. Remember, it's on the right-hand side of the person page. Here is the merge analysis. Click to expand this. You're going to click merge analysis. And right at the top there, if you feel like you've made a mistake, you can undo the merge. Okay, so let's go back and let's just look at that really, really quickly. I don't want to undo the merge, but so again, you're on the person page. You scroll down past research help, past search records, past notes to latest changes. If you don't see the merge there, then you click show all. Well, you probably have to click show all anyways. And then there's the merge analysis, and then you follow the prompts and you click undo merge. So that merge was a little more complicated than the previous ones. But we successfully did it by just doing a little bit of research and spending a little bit of time and making sure that we weren't creating a situation where a child was disappearing if they were twins or whatever the situation was. We did our due diligence. We can feel pretty confident that that was the correct option for Inez. All right, I wanted to talk now about merge by ID. Sometimes you will come across people who you know are duplicates, but the system is not recognizing them as duplicates. So you have to force a duplicate. In article in October 17th, 2024. This is what Family Search says about this particular situation. In Family Tree, the possible duplicates feature may not list all of a person's duplicate records. If you know the ID of a duplicate that is not listed, you can use it to merge the records. So before you start, though, you need to obtain the ID number of the record to be merged. So again, we're going to your person page, and you're going to, it's there on the right hand side, and you're going to go to, and you're going to find tools. In tools, you're looking for merge by ID. Once you click that button, it's going to give you an option of whose ID you want to merge with that person's page you're on. Note to self, it's easy to copy and paste. If you're uncomfortable with copying and pasting, make sure that you're recording the right number so that you can enter it into that slot, because sometimes you'll get the wrong number and it will reject it clearly. So let's look at how to do that. And this is example number 4. It's Ludolf Adam Mersinger. So we're going to look at maybe, first of all, recognizing some places, because this you have to be kind of more astute about. If you're looking on a tree and you can find children that you're like, that has got to be the same person, doing your due diligence, but the system is not recognizing it as such, then this is what you would do. All right, this merge by ID goes, well, I mean, it can go anywhere. It can go to children, it can go to spouses. You know, you're just looking for duplicates where it needs to be resolved. Now, I had a hard time looking for it, so I'm actually going to use one that the system does recognize, but we're going to pretend that it doesn't. So let's look at this person under Ruth Stella Malwitz. So if you look at these two like double individuals next to someone named, that means that that person has additional spouses. So let's click on Ludolf's, and it says that Ruth has 2 husbands, one named Frank, the other one named Ludolf. Okay, so we're not looking for that one. Let's click on Ruth's now. And it says that Ludolf has 3 wives, one named Ruth, one named Lenore Heim, and the other one Lenora R. Heim. Dates are exactly the same. And you're like, wait a second. That's most assuredly a duplicate. But the system isn't recognizing it. So where do you go from there? Because this is Ludolf's spouse, I want to go to Ludolf's person page. So we're going to click on Ludolf, and we're going to click person over here on the right-hand side. We're going to go into the details section. See, this ordinance ready button is being held up because this duplicate needs to happen. So we're going to go down here to his wives, and they're all listed here underneath family members. So we have the one marriage between Ludolf and Ruth, and that one's okay. We don't need to merge that one. This is the one that we need to look at merging. So this is where you go to, first of all, you copy and paste one or the other. And for this reason, I'm going to copy, because I'm looking at the 2 and it looks like the Lenora R. Heim at the bottom has more information than the one on the top. So I want to merge the one that has the least amount of information. So I'm going to copy that particular ID number, ID copied, and then we're going to go to the other Lenora, her person page, and we're going to go down here on the right hand side, and we're going to click merge by ID. So the prompt is, okay, what's the ID number? Well, I just copied it. Here's where I would paste it and click continue. So now I'm forcing a merge that hasn't been recognized by the system. So let's go analyze it just like we have with everything else. All right. So the name is Lenorheim and Lenora Arheim. Looks the same to me. The birth is the exact same, January 3rd, 1915. The death is exactly the same, September 10th, 2004. So honestly, like these things are, it's just like buttoning up perfectly. So you have a spouse that she was married to before Ludolf. That matches up. The numbers are the same. Ludolf is exactly the same with the same numbers. So you're not creating a duplicate by resolving this duplicate. So we just go down and everything is the same except for those two Lenoras. Okay. There's no sources on the left, but that's not a problem because there's so many matches that I'm really super confident that this is the same. So you click yes, continue. I don't feel like I need to replace anything. And I click continue. Door number 1, I choose, and then finish merge. So now those two people have been merged. That one was pretty simple. Usually, if you're forcing a merge, they are pretty simple. But again, if you want to do that, you go down a person's page. Under tools, you look for merge by ID, and then you just put in the other ID. So that's the other thing that you need to be aware of when you're merging possibilities. I wanted to really quickly, as we end, talk about individuals that cannot be merged. And this is straight from Family Search. The gender of one person is male and the gender of the other person is female. So obviously you can't merge two with the sexes being completely different. There are a way to change sexes because that is also a mistake that is made. The wrong sex gets put in. So be aware of that. If you're trying to resolve it, if it's the same person, know that you're going to have to change the sex before you can actually merge them. The next thing that cannot situation where individuals cannot be merged is the data indicates one person is alive and the other is deceased. You don't have any ability to do anything if someone's alive unless it's yourself. Both people in the database were created from membership records of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The next one is one of the people has restrictions that would prevent it from being changed. For some reason, some people do have restrictions. If Family Search identifies possible duplicates that cannot be merged, a message appears beneath the possible duplicates indicating these persons cannot be merged. Okay, so Family Search will let you know that it's not possible for you to merge these people. And I am not sure why, but you are free to call them up and say, why can't these people be merged? And they more than likely will be able to tell you. Sometimes they can't tell you. You just have to move up the chain. But those would be some of the reasons why you would not be able to merge someone. Now, there is the situation where you have a family member who has lived and all of their children, let's say, have created a duplicate for that person just because you have to with live people, right? So I have a record of my mom who is still alive, and like my brothers and sisters would have another record of her just because she's alive and we have to just create that duplicate. So what happens when someone passes? The first step when someone passes is that the clerk in their ward has to submit whatever paperwork they have to submit that this person has passed. Once that is registered, somehow it's also registered in Family Search. And when that happens, you will have to go in to that particular person, and then you can merge the duplicates after they've passed. So know that generally, if someone, especially if they're a member of the church currently, there's probably duplicates attached, and that when someone dies, you will have to go in and resolve all of the duplicates to merge all of the records into one. You would just do it the same way we just did it here. But just be aware that when someone passes, that's generally what's going to have to happen. And be that person who takes that responsibility, because most people aren't aware of that and they don't know how to do that. So as you get good at that and you have loved ones pass, I mean, literally, I had and this is all from my dad's side, which is interesting. I had an aunt die in November, an uncle die in February. I had another aunt die in January, and there's a couple of them that aren't doing well. It's like the Campbell family is all bringing them home. So it's been a lot of funerals to attend, and I'm dreading the next one coming up because he's pretty special to me. But they're calling him home because they're ready to do missions and they need them over there. So just be aware of that when someone passes, that those records will have to be taken care of and merged. Hopefully this video has been instructive and helpful for you. Hopefully you have gained a little bit more courage. Remember, we do the best that we can, and the Lord will help us do the rest. Expect that you're going to make mistakes, but know there's a way to undo them, and just keep practicing and keep doing. This is a work that needs to be done in order for people to get their work done. If we keep passing that person by because we aren't willing and we're fearful of resolving that duplicate, that person sits there and sits there and sits there. Be the one to have courage. Say a little prayer to help you as you're walking through it to make those choices and decisions. Be aware of the sources. And in the end, if you are unsure, there is a way to back out. But I'm encouraging you to not do that unless it's really, really super complicated. Next week, we'll have my friend on from England. She lives in California, but you're just going to love the way she talks. It's just, or maybe it's just me. I could listen to her forever because of her accent. But she has a lot of interesting stories, a really cool introduction to the church, just lots of cool thinning of the veil experiences. And she's an author like me. So we identified on so many levels. So check that out. Thanks again for joining me. Please keep liking and reviewing and sharing. It helps a ton. And I enjoy the interaction. So have a good week, my friends. Make it a goal to go and resolve a duplicate this week, and then resolve the next one, and then resolve the next one. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.